Brian and I have the fortune of keeping this great crowd between drinks and some nice sun right now.
I know.
First of all, a big round of applause for all of you who stayed to the very end. It's the community that makes this such a great success, and we thank you. And I've learned a ton, Brian.
Well, one thing I just learned was it takes 5 years to get a Web3 game out. I mean, if you wanted one to be out today, you would have to start building it in 2019, which I don't think anybody was that bullish at that point. So it kind of explains to me why there aren't more Web3 games out there.
And so we did this exercise last year. Get your vocal cords ready. Kathy and Lynn will be running around with microphones. I come from free-to-play gaming. We shipped intensely content on a daily, 3 times a day basis at Zynga, and that was a lot of our success. And the reason why we shipped so frequently, we were always on intensely trying to gain market share, was so that we could learn from our audiences. And the humility to build success in consumer crypto, in consumer gaming, was this continuous learning of testing your hypotheses, looking at the data, iterating, failing upwards. And there's so much about Web3 that attracts me to this because of the intensity of the communities to consume that content, to fail upwards. And so that the exercise I would love to involve everyone here would be to run what we would run at Decasonic, applying my operator experience to our investment franchise. And Kathy and team are sometimes so subject to this continuous learning. We will run this exercise of going through a full day of meetings, learning, and then opening it up for a no-fail, safe zone conversation of what have you learned, what surprised you, how can we apply this? So, in real time, we'll run around with microphones. My first question, if we were going to run this at Decasonic, would be, what did you learn today? And so I'll start with you, Brian, and then, I could jump in. We could all kind of run around with microphones. We'll start with you, Brian.
I learned to toss around the word trillions really easily.
It's good as an SL allocator to do that.
I mean, between Ron Diamond and John Hoffman from Grayscale, I mean, there's 68 trillion transitioning from baby boomers, and then these investors are going to be young, and they like private markets, and then with the whole Grayscale thing, there's trillions and trillions that'll now have access to the unlock of ETFs, and I never heard trillions so easily thrown around, but it resonated, right? Of like, that's a real long-term kind of rising of the tide. That has a real long-term effect.
That's right. I'll pause here. Raise your hand if you want to share something you learned. No wrong answers. We're talking about the futures.
Maybe you guys weren't here all day.
Got one here.
This is a simple one, but I was actually surprised to know that the 50% was the standard for customer acquisition cost for the games industry. I know it fluctuates a lot, but that makes me feel really good about my business.
Anyone else?
Well, the last time I went particularly was helpful because I'm a game developer with a game investing. Thank you. But I think the big question from a lot of gamers has been, how has adoption not really been faster? Because it's so appealing at first glance to a gamer, but yet there's been so much resistance to it. And I think just generally across all the different industries, just getting more insights on what's going wrong, what the frictions are.
I'll jump in. I work in Web3 full time, and you come to these conferences. You're always learning how much you don't know. I mean, that there's just so many possibilities in Web3, blockchain, AI. Again, privileged to convene so many experts who just know in depth so many different areas that have real possibilities. It's such a horizontal technology, a disruptor in many ways that I'm always learning about the depth of cybersecurity, AI. The regulation panel was amazing.
Yeah.
Having that set of expertise, and this all affects that adoption that we're all kind of chasing.
There we go.
Learned that we continue to struggle in the same disciplines, whether it be development, people, regulation, and that we all continue to come together and be open. I come from a TradFi background, but in digital, everybody is very open in collaboration.
Yeah.
And even after being in this space for between 5 and 10 years now, while there is growth, we are still fighting these same battles. And it's interesting to see some of the larger entities like Circle that are still battling in the same creative fashion within regulation that we're still battling, that aren't, billion-dollar entities. But I love that we still all gather and that we all still share information.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank you guys for putting this on. It's been a great day.
Thank you. That was great.
Abby, please.
I thought it was really interesting. For me, my background is in gaming at all. So it was really very interesting to kind of hear the gaming panel. And in particular, what they talked about was some of like the gender balance that they saw happen, especially when it came to like Web3 gaming. Because I have a daughter and she's definitely really into a lot of that. But I think it also gives interesting insight when it comes to creating sort of an investment thesis and projecting outwards and trying to understand sort of what some of the broader general trends would be. And maybe that influences some of the topics of games or subjects that you would see as perhaps being more versus less successful in like an overarching arc over time.
Okay, what's our next
We
one?
got
more.
another one, yeah.
This is a quick one that I liked from Ron Diamond. He said that be careful with where the incentives lie. And I think that that's a quick one that we easily forget, and how he's partnering with schools and universities around this area.
That's right.
As the incentives align really well, right? Instead of maybe a banking partner who's going to have a different incentive in the back end, right? Something important for, I think, everybody on every level of Web3 to keep in their business model.
My second question, and part of the power of super learning, is to index what what surprised you, or what surprises the consensus. And therein lies the second step in trying to identify investment opportunities. So Brian, I'll kick off the second question to you. What did you hear today that surprised you?
How constructive the regulatory panel was in general. That they just, whatever administration we see coming in next year, they were, I think with the approval of the Bitcoin ETF and now approval of the Ethereum ETFs and they are on the front lines there in Washington, and they seem generally more constructive no matter what happens in November. And that is a different feeling than the last 2 years when we've had a regulatory panel. Yeah, so that surprised me, the regulatory constructive feeling. Any surprises?
I'll just quickly say, I really enjoyed the AI and cybersecurity portion. It was just amazing to see how just right now you're seeing the application of AI identifying different smart contracts and whatnot, and just seeing how it's even related into gaming and helping with development. That was a good surprise for me. That's not necessarily in that industry.
Anyone else? How about you, Paul? What surprised you?
You know, what surprised me was how interconnected some of the themes are too. And you know, in general, we have a thesis around the intersection of technologies, and you know, as a venture investor, you're always looking for your edge and what's your investment alpha. How are you different? You know, you read through mainstream books and you're like, hey, what do you agree with? What do you disagree with? How much of that percentage is there? So the higher the percentage, you dig into it. And you know, as you kind of sit through all the panels, you can see some common themes around kind of the adoption trends, the focus on consumer, designing for the consumer. That Web3 and physical panel was great, just hearing the corporate view. You work with so many startups that you forget that there are major corporations also working on this stuff, including Circle.
California has 42 million driver's licenses.
Driver's licenses on Avalanche. You know, and so there are durable use cases that do cascade into startups, and that really surprised me.
So I liked the way the panels were put together.
So I think there's, you know, listening to all the speakers, I think finally we've come to recognize blockchain isn't a vertical, it's just a common platform, just like the internet is. And AI is in that way also. So I think that the panels and the discussions kind of reflected that recognition and sort of where the future is headed.
That's a great transition. My last question. You know, as an investor, we take risks. As a venture investor, we take even more risks. You know, you hope to find high floor, high potential opportunities.
As a Web3 venture investor.
You're searching in the unknown. You don't even know if you have glasses on, and you know, I think that there's something about kind of distilling down information that you're learning, taking a dual approach to evaluating that information. What's realistic, but also what's optimistic. You know, how do you sort through all the hype to be realistic, and then at the same time, kind of assess all the risks and see the vision, see the future, so you build something big. So, last question for you, Brian, and the whole crowd. You know, what from today gives you optimism?
Oh, I mean, generally, I felt very bullish and I felt excited about the kind of the way it all fits together, as somebody mentioned. But really, what made me optimistic was I would look out and I saw a full room with people standing in the back, and then another 100 people engaged in really intense conversations. And I would say so, it was the energy of the crowd. Like, there's an energy here that is like, things are happening, people are building, and you know, we're on the right track.
Philip's raising his hand. I'll call on him.
Yeah, I'd echo that as well. It's really exciting to see across the industries I've worked in and around. There is so much siloed, antagonistic competitiveness, but in this environment it feels really collaborative. There are so many overlapping intersections, even between companies and people in this room, and you're finding each other and helping each other and conversing in a way that's really it's positive and it's hopeful, and that's exciting for a technologist who's trying to build something for a better humanity, you know, at a simplistic level.
Anyone else? Tim?
I'm going to echo the optimism thing, but I think having been here this year, almost every single panel said something about how right now is the time, like that we're right on the cusp, that we're super optimistic about right now. 1 year ago today, or whatever it was, we were not talking about, we're right there. We're almost like, I love the optimism of the timing of where we are right now, and that was echoed almost through every panel.
You know, what gives me optimism is that, you know, innovation really comes from density of conversations. You know, that's why Silicon Valley thrives. They're able to have this room almost every night. I'll say that. I haven't been 16 years in Silicon Valley. That there is such a nature of cooperation, idea sharing, and then I'll go fuck it out, execute you, you know, at night, 7 days a week. I mean,
That's a great
like,
idea.
here, open ideas, but I'm just gonna outwork you, and I'll be smarter than you about finding and learning and testing and iterating. You know, I think to bridge off of what Brian and the other comments were about the optimism is, I think we really created some good density of conversations and connections that I hope do cascade out, and you know, that is adoption by definition, right? You have a message, you generate, you spread it. I hope the messages of true relationships, durable relationships, technology for good, I hope those are takeaways that help drive this density that is uniquely this group, Chicago, the Midwest, and hopefully American innovation. You know, we might be behind today, but certainly if we extend our leadership with this mindset, with the proper regulations, with the proper technologies for the mainstream, you know, you could see our industry flourish, society, and I hope this density of ideas extends, you know, at least until next conference.
At least until next conference, or at least until we get to the drinks.
Thank you again for joining us, especially those who flew in. Thank you for all the volunteers and all the sponsors and partners for making this.
Thank you everybody for showing up. Thanks so much.